Hi, everybody. Give a few minutes. Hi there. I'm so glad you guys are here. Today's webinar is going to be about color and how it relates to your website. Lighting's a little bad today. Sorry about that. I think my camera is compensating because it's actually sunny here today in Chicago, and it's actually been sunny for a few days, but I'm not used to it, so I have to adjust for the light. And I need my coffee, sorry. I decided to do, again, a non-techie. Pretty much every other week is techie, and every other week is going to be something less techie, more theoretical. Or, you know, all of it's stuff that you can put into practice at any given time. You know, my mic here a little bit. Looks like my mic is doing okay. And again, I just wanted to give a few minutes for people to come in. And hi, Ron, how are you? I'll be able to look at the chat right now. Hello, anybody home? Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? Be sure, I'm going to type in here to re-click start on the video. If you came into the video and then you weren't able to see anything, you have to restart the video. Well, it's not a video, I'm actually live, but you have to click the little play button in order for it to work. So I hope that these people can come in. And I'll be checking on that little chat box every so often, but while I'm doing the presentation, I'm going to have that full screen. So please drop me a note if you're here right now. If you're here right now, if you can hear me, please drop a note and let me know that you can hear me okay and that you can see me okay, and vice versa. If something's not good, nothing happens. Let me get my, that's not good. Let me get the Google address here. Go to, I apologize, guys. I just want to make sure people can get in here. And I have to get the little URL that's going to make that happen. Go to, oops. Back to the chat box. Oh my gosh, you guys, it's always technology. It's the worst, I tell you, the worst. One last little thing, and then I'm going to try. Okay, so some people are having trouble getting in, and the thing is, if you had clicked on the start button before I actually started, and I know this is kind of stupid, but it's kind of the way Google Hangouts works. You have to go back and refresh the screen and restart the video to see me live. So I hope that I sent the actual URL. I put that in the chat box for Google+, so hopefully you guys can hear me on Google+ at least. Of course, then you won't be able to type in the chat box, or you can keep both windows open and you can do both. So I'm very sorry about the technical difficulties. I'm working it out. Hi, Kathy. Yay. Yeah, I had to sign out and re-sign in, and that is, I should probably just start putting that in the emails, because that was an issue last time as well. And if you don't know that, you don't know that. If you got here early and you click the start button, you think that it's just going to kick in when I go live, and it doesn't. So you have to kind of refresh the screen and go back in and click play. So I'm glad you're here too. And I think if you watch me through the actual Google URL, you can also keep that other page open with the chat box, and you can still send me comments and such. But I am going to go ahead and get started, so I won't be looking directly at questions while I'm talking, but I can still scroll back through them, and I want to be able to answer everybody's question while you're here. And if I don't get to something while we're live, you have to boogie off, or we just don't have enough time, then I'll send you an answer in an email. Happy to do it. That's why I'm here. My name is Kathy Servatka, and my business is voiceover web design. Yes, I do websites for voiceovers, but I also want to educate voiceovers about their websites. What I've found is that a lot of voiceovers do their own websites, and you know, for various reasons, and I get it, financials and all that. You've spent a lot of money on everything that you've done to this point. So maybe you don't have a lot of money to create a website. Although I did create, because of that, I've created a pretty sweet little package that I can talk about to you at the end of this. I think it's a really good price, and if you don't have a web presence, it is a great way to get you going, where you'll end up with a professional looking website, not something that looks like it was a little bit kludged together. Not that you guys would kludge stuff together, but I'm just saying I got a few years of experience on you. So I've been doing websites since 1999. So yeah, I've been doing this for a while. And anyway, I would love to get going with color and how it affects your website. What the heck does it mean? And I don't want to give like this huge color theory, so please don't freak out. And I know some of you maybe could care less about color in particular. I learned a lot about it because I was a photo major actually in college. And then of course through all the web design that I do. I find it pretty fascinating actually, but especially when it comes to color with regard to light. And that's what a website is. It's not pigment color per se, it's light color. And it's different than like when we used to mix our paints together and come up with different colors. So that is, I'm going to address that a little bit, and then go into some practical things for you to help you with color and your website and how to make those choices. All right, so I am going to share my window with you. And actually, I probably don't need to make it go full screen, but I'm going to. So hopefully you see that. Color concepts, how do colors work in websites? All right, topics we're going to cover. We're going to cover color theory, light, and not about, I don't mean light as in the light in the room. I mean light as in, don't worry, it's not going to get too heady. Talk about what we learned in school with our paints and our crayons, our box of Crayolas, and how screens show color and the difference between color for the web and color for print, because there is a difference in how the graphics are handled. How to pick colors for your website, and 3 different ways to enter color values in your website styling. So for those of you who are doing your own website, hopefully you've gotten a good theme that allows you to actually plug in your own color numbers that match your logo. And so I'm going to tell you how you can do that and what those numbers mean. How many colors are too many? I've seen it done. Too many colors make it look like a circus going on, and you don't want that. If you try, what happens, a lot of people try to emphasize with different colors, and the next thing you know, you have no consistency and no brand. So we don't like that. Do colors really evoke emotion? And if they do, what do we want them to say? And I have some conflicting thoughts on that, I think. Then I offer you, there's some tools for determining exact color values for your palette. We're going to talk about your palette that you come up with for your website. And then being consistent with your colors for your branding. So we'll get to all of that. All right, color theory light. This would be like not even 101. This would be like 99, maybe. Course 99, not 101. What we learned in grade school, the primary colors. We learned about red, yellow, and blue, if you remember back in the day. Those were the primary colors, right? Red, yellow, and blue. We put them in a wheel. Now, back in the day when color was first being really studied, at least to the point of the way we know it today. It started back in the days of Isaac Newton because he was studying color with regard to light and prisms and that kind of thing. He didn't initially use the wheel concept, but that did come into play not too long after him. And I just want to tell you that there are actually many different kinds of color wheels, different kinds of primary colors. It's really amazing. You know, we just know this one, which is pretty basic, but there's again, like everything, there's a whole science about this stuff. But I can give you the basics. All right, so then we got our secondary colors. So hopefully you can see my pointer. We've got the red, and we've got the blue, and we've got the yellow, right? Those are the primaries. When you mix yellow and red together, you get orange. When you mix red and blue together, you get purple or violet. And if you mix blue and yellow together, you get green. So the purple, the orange, and the green are called secondary colors. And then it starts getting, this is where I stop, because actually color wheels expand and expound way beyond this. But then we have tertiary colors, which is tertiary, T-E-R means three. So third level. So you have your first level, your second level, and your third level. Try saying that while you're looking at the words primary, secondary, and tertiary. So the tertiaries are this. So here's our blue and our yellow. Oops, that's not it. Here's our blue and our yellow. Those are our primaries, right? We've got colors in between. Blue and yellow mixed together make green. Okay, so that's our second level color, secondary. But if you take that secondary and mix it with one of the primaries, you get what's called a tertiary, or third level. So if I mix green and yellow, I get yellow-green or green-yellow. I think what they did is name these based on the primary first. I always name them based on who's got more color. If you mix blue and green, you get blue-green, and so on. So you can see how you end up kind of going through different phases of colors. And it all kind of comes back. I think here is where things maybe fall off a little bit. And I will say that I'm not sure my screen is entirely calibrated correctly, so you may not be seeing these colors exactly correctly. Plus, it depends on your screen, which is a whole other thing with websites and color, because the color you see on your screen may not be the color somebody else sees on their phone or their own monitor. So we have to hold to them loosely, but get as close as we can. All right. Woo. So how do screens show color? Screens, everything I've talked to this point is just basic color theory and mostly having to do with pigment. But we're talking about screens, monitors, phones. They use light instead of pigment, and light behaves differently when you mix different colors together than if you mixed pigments like paint together. So it has a different set of primary colors. Remember I told you there's several different kinds. These are just two of them. There's actually a lot more in this. Maybe you've heard of Roy G. Biv. Roy G. Biv, when I first heard this, I thought it just was RGB is what it was trying to tell us. Those are the primaries of a pixel in your computer screen. Every pixel can show red, green, and blue in various combinations. But notice the OY and the G and the BIV. It actually spells out the other colors. So look at this, Roy G. Biv. So red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, I for indigo, and V for violet. If you think about a rainbow, this is pretty much how you're going to see them in this order. And red, they're ordered this way because red has the longest wavelength. Ooh, that sounds sciencey, and that's as sciencey as I get with that. Longest wavelength, shortest wavelength. And so that's kind of the reason they show up the way they do in a rainbow. That's as far as I'm going to get with that. Okay, so RGB. How the heck does that work with the website? Well, with RGB, you have an option of 256 different shades of red, 256 different shades of green and 256 different shades of blue. Well, why do I only see 0 and 255? Because 0 counts as one of them. 0 is completely off, all the way off. So the red is turned all the way off at 0. And at 255, it's all the way on. So instead of 1 to 256, it's 0 to 255. So if you put red, green, and blue and set them all to 255, which is our maximum amount allowed on a pixel, why these numbers? I don't know. Some engineer came up with this color scale, I think. But when they're all on, all light, red, green, and blue, 100% equally mixed, comes out white. And if they're all turned off, the absence of light, everything comes out black. So that's a good place to start. Sorry, got to get my coffee in. So for an example, if I set red to be 133, green to be 75, and blue to be 180, I get this sort of purpley color. I just picked that randomly, but you are not expected to remember these colors nor try to figure out how to make just the right blue to go with your logo. But I'm just explaining this is how you get this color. And we're going to get more into that. I'm going to explain like these colors and where you find them and how you apply them. So we're just kind of covering from an aerial view at this point. All right, and the difference between web and print color and why it matters to you is because they are handled very differently. And if you are making a graphic for your website, that graphic should not be used in print. It uses a whole different color space because print is pigment and anything for the web is light, as we just talked about. So we know that screens use light to make, in the pixels to make color. So various combinations of red, green, and blue make all the colors we can come up with. Isn't that crazy? When you think about mathematically, you have 0 to 255 for each of those colors, and you can come up with any combination of amounts of each of those, and you can derive all the colors you want from those 3 primaries. In print, they have a different primary setup. They use something called CMYK, which stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, hopefully you can see that, and black. K is black. I'm not sure why not B. They didn't want it to be confused with blue, probably. So in printing, in the offset printing process, when they make you know, packages for products or book covers, that kind of thing, they can get all of their colors based on these 4 primaries. So you don't really need to know or worry about the CMYK process, except that you, for the web, just need to stay away from it. And if you are doing anything with branding and you're doing both online work and print materials, that you can't use the same graphic between the two. They have to be set up differently. You can get by, but the problem is your colors aren't going to come out the way you expect them to. So 100% cyan, 100% magenta, yellow, and black. So they run in percentages. And you may see this if you have Photoshop. You might see something like this, like cyan, magenta, yellow, black with percentages. And so they go from 0%, which is completely off, to 100%, which is completely on. Like I said, these are the primary colors for printers. So why do you care? Like I said, if you make any graphics for your website, they will be in RGB, red, green, blue. They are not for print. And vice versa. If you make anything for print, it's CMYK and it's not for the web. If you switch it around and try to use one for the other, you're not going to be happy with your results. So just stick to the rules. You always have to know the rules before you can break them, I always say, because sometimes there are exceptions. There are things you can do that you can get by with, but you need to know the proper way to do things first off. If you use a software program like Photoshop, Adobe Photoshop, you actually can go in and do conversions from RGB to CMYK and vice versa. Also, if you're working with a graphic designer, your graphic designer can do this kind of stuff for you. So how do you pick colors for your website? Well, you want to take into consideration a few things. First of all, you may already have a logo with colors in it. If you already have a logo and you love your logo, then you want to use the colors in that logo, and everything you do in your website must agree with that logo and those colors. If you are not sure what the values of the colors are in that logo, if you had a graphic designer make it for you, get those numbers from them. If you cannot, if your graphic designer fell off the face of the earth, you can actually open your logo in a program like Photoshop and sample the different colors and actually get those color numbers. But you want to get those actual values. But again, if you already have a logo, you got to work with those colors. And I talk about later, if you hate your logo, then scrap it and start over. And then therefore, think about colors you're drawn to. This is for people if you don't already have a logo or you want to scrap the one you have. What colors are you drawn to? You know, maybe you like the blue. A lot of people like blue. I think blue is probably the #1 favorite color, but there's so many shades of blue. What kind of blue? Do you like it cool? Do you like it warm? What colors make sense for your brand? Now, as a voiceover, are you the bright and energetic type? Is your voice soothing? Do you do a lot of work for corporate? These things are all going to be taken into account when you're deciding what colors will be best for your brand and what feeling you're trying to evoke. And that gets back to that emotions kind of thing. And I don't get all touchy-feely with this stuff. Sometimes I feel like words are associated with colors that I don't agree with, but I do think there's something to it, and there is a whole psychology based on colors and how humans react to it. So there's something to it. If you do already have a logo with colors, you need to stick with those colors. Get the exact color values in either RGB or what we call hexadecimal numbers from your designer. I'm going to talk about what that hexadecimal number is, but that used to be the only color numbering system you could use for the web. Now they do allow some RGB. So this is a little, we'll get into it. We'll get into it. Anyway, you need to get those exact color values from your designer. And again, if your designer fell off the face of the earth, you can open it in a program such as Photoshop. And I'm trying to think of what else is out there where you can sample the colors. You actually could open it in Dreamweaver even. Dreamweaver has a color sampler, and you can get the color numbers from that as well. I can't think of any other free programs where you can sample colors from an existing graphic, but I'm sure they're out there. If your logo only has 1 or 2 colors, a lot of times I see a logo that's only 1 color, or it's black and white, but a lot of times just 1, maybe 2 colors. You're going to want to have more colors than that to work with on your website. So you're going to work on what we call a color palette, coming up with a palette of colors that work well together, that you can use and stick with on your website. Consider adding 1 or 2 more colors that go with your logo. We're going to talk about what goes with what, that you also like. And again, if your designer's still around, ask them for help with this. Ask your designer to come up with a palette of colors for your brand and for your, especially for your website. And they know exactly what that is. Any graphic designer knows what that is. So when you're picking colors, if you don't already have that logo or you're redoing your logo, what colors are you drawn to? If you don't have a logo, get a logo. That's the first step. So talk with your graphic designer. Don't make your own logo unless you have a graphic design background or you're really good at drawing or whatever. And even if you're good at drawing, logos are a little different. So honestly, I would say work with a graphic designer. It doesn't cost that much to get a logo created. And, you know, work with colors. Tell them the colors you like. Tell them, you know, what your business is. Tell them about yourself, because these colors have to match you, and they have to match your brand. They have to match what you do. And then you want to get those values, like I said. Maybe have some options that you can use in your website. Make sure you love the colors, because you're going to be looking at them for a long time. You look at your colors a lot and you don't want to get sick of it. You're going to get sick of it eventually anyway. I think it's just kind of how it is. But you have to really love those colors. If you're only ha about your colors, believe me, in a month, that's going to wear really thin. You're going to wish you had something different. So think about things like, do you like warm colors, earthy colors, light and airy colors, bright colors? What are you drawn to? So along those lines, if we're thinking of warm colors, think sunset, like orange, yellow, tan, those kind of warmy colors. They tend to have a little bit of orange or yellow to them. Think of cool colors. I hesitated because any color can be warm or cool. It depends. If they're warm, they have a little orange or yellow in them, and if they're cool, they have more blue in them. But in and of themselves, orange and yellow and tan are considered warm colors. Cool colors are the blue, the turquoise, blue-green, things that are, yeah, like in an ocean. Think about, or I like to think about even on a crisp January day with snow on the ground and the sky is brilliant blue. What do those colors look like to you? Cold. They're very cool in temperature, in color temperature, and in temperature. If you like light colors, we think of pastels, light, airy colors. They have very little black in them, right? So they're more pale blues, yellows, anything that's pastel, or dark colors, which have more black in them. So maroon, rich browns, velvety purples, real rich colors. So I think all of this comes into play not only with what you like, but again, what matches up with your voice and your brand and your product, the product you bring to your clients. And then think about, like I've been saying, colors that make sense for your brand. If you do corporate narrations, look at the colors they use, because those are the ones they're going to be attracted to. They're not going to want to see a lot of bright, flamboyant colors, you know, outrageous kind of stuff. Outrageous may be just what you need, depending. If you're an animation person, that might be just what you need. But if you're working with corporate clients, they tend to use a lot of blues. It's kind of boring, maybe you might think, but I don't know, it's got its own grace, I guess. See, blues, shades of blues, and maybe a contrast of orange with some grays in there. And by the way, any colors that you do pick, black and white and gray are always options to be thrown in there as well, as because those are very neutral. And we do tend to like black text. Now, I'll tell you right now, the text you're looking at is not pure black. I don't usually go for pure black, but it's black to the eye of the beholder. And the background is not pure white. So I don't have such a vibrant contrast, because that tires the eyes. But you get the idea. You can throw some black, gray, and white in with the colors of your color palette. Excuse me again. My voice is kind of getting dried out. If you have a logo and it doesn't make sense, so maybe to this point in my presentation, you're thinking, hopefully you're thinking about your logo, and you're thinking, wow, my logo really, I had it done a few years ago, really does not fit who I am right now. And if you're not already well known for that logo, then scrap it and start over. Get with a graphic designer and start from the ground up. And you want to do that before you even think about a website, because everything you do in your website is going to be based on the colors of your logo, the look and feel of your logo, and the color palette that you and your designer come up with. So if you are already well known for your logo, then you can still change it up. You don't want to completely scrap it. You can change the coloring in it. You can freshen it up. You've seen some products. Lord knows Coca-Cola has changed over the years. Even Facebook, they're obviously not nearly as old as Coke, but Facebook changed their font over the last year. Did you notice that? You might not have even noticed. It still looks like Facebook, but they changed their font. And I think Google did too. You can tell I have trouble saying Google. Google. I don't know why. My tongue doesn't want to do that. All right. What emotions or experience are you trying to invoke? And this really goes into everything I've just talked about. If your voice is soothing or calm, or if you got a booming, one of those manly booming gravelly voices, or you have light and airy, you know, here's some samples of colors that you can, that might get you kind of thinking. If these are considered calm colors, they're pastel. The colors themselves are considered calm colors. These are based off, this one's a little more warm, so it's a little more off the orangey palette. This is pink, so it's a little more off the red, and obviously blue. It's a periwinkle here. So don't worry if you don't know names of colors like this. I know a lot of people are like, I don't know, I need my box of, what was the big box? Who didn't get the big box of crayons that had all the cool names in it? With the sharpener. The box with the sharpener, that was awesome. That's where we learned a lot of these obscure names, I think. Romantic colors. This might not look very romantic, but it actually is when you put it into play. It depends how much of this color you use. And maybe you make that color a little richer, so it's a little more to the red. But it's just one sample. There's many different ways of coming up with romantic. It doesn't have to be this bright red. You know, you think of your red candy box or whatever. It's not, it doesn't have to be bright red. It can be subtle, soft colors. Suggestions. Powerful, more brilliant colors. And yes, these are actually all colors that go together from various types of color schemes. There's different types of color schemes, and I'm gonna only just barely talk about them, but you've probably heard of monochromatic, which I don't have an example here. There's something called analogous, there's something called triad, there's something called clash, complementary. So there's all kinds of ways to put colors together, and these are all taken, I think these are analogous. These are analogous for sure. I think these are too. And I forget what these are, but you get the idea. 3 ways to add color numbers to your website. So getting back to the web, you got your colors picked out, and I'm missing some numbers here. I have a feeling I didn't save the numbers that I put here. Ha ha ha. That's okay. The premium theme you select, and notice I said premium theme. If you are doing your own WordPress website, be sure to spend the money and get a premium theme. Do not use a free theme unless you really don't have any money. If you really don't have any money, you can use a free theme, but you'll hit a wall with it, and they're not all that easy to work with. Premium themes are extensible, meaning you can grow into them as much as you need to. They offer more than you can use to start with, but you can use some of those tools down the road. A premium theme runs anywhere between $58 to $62. Typically, I have seen them go as high as $150. I would not spend that much money. I usually spend around $60, $62 for a theme. It's a one-time purchase. You can go to some place like Theme Forest, ThemeForest.com, and there's tons of themes there. Elegant themes, there's a lot of themes out there. But definitely get a premium theme and make sure by the way, that it is responsive, meaning that it will adjust itself for phones and all kinds of devices. Now in your premium theme, when you're setting it up and you go into its settings, it will allow you to put color numbers in to say, okay, this is how I want my text to look. I want it to be this color. I want underlines to be this color. I want borders to be this color. I want my heading levels to be these colors. So it allows you to actually plug in those numbers, and typically it's looking for that hexadecimal number. What the heck is the hexadecimal number? I am very sad. Let me just flip ahead. Wait a minute. Oh, I forgot. Okay. I'm sorry, guys. Just ignore this part down here. Okay. A hexadecimal number is a 6-digit code for each color. It includes the numbers, the digits 0 through 9 and the letters A through F. What the heck does that mean? Well, let's just go right to the bottom here. Remember that red, green, blue, right? RGB. In hexadecimal, the first 2 characters are for the red color. The second 2 characters are for the green. And the third 2 characters are for the blue. And it gives you a lot more options for colors. So it doesn't have to just be 774499, which probably doesn't make sense to you either, but it gives you a lot, let's just say it gives you a lot more options for colors. So a hexadecimal, this is the same purple that I had before, I think. In hexadecimal, you always have the pound sign in front of it. It needs that. So if a color's not working for you and you've entered all these numbers, be sure to go check, make sure that pound sign's there. Excuse me. And this color number, this hexadecimal number, equals this color. You are not expected to try and figure out how to get this color by coming up with a number like this. 7D4B97. What the what? But that is really how coloring is done in HTML and CSS styling. You can convert anything that you have. Again, if you have it in Photoshop, and I'm going to show you some tools where you can actually get these numbers. But in Photoshop, you can get the RGB number and you can get the hexadecimal number at the same time. So all you got to do is come up with the color you like, then just copy and paste the hexadecimal number into your theme wherever you're trying to put your colors. Themes allow you to set up your exact color numbers. Sometimes they allow the RGB value. On occasion, you can actually use the words white, black, red, and there's other predetermined color names, but as you can see just by even me saying white, black, and red, they're predefined. They're not going to be exactly the match to what you want. White and black you're pretty safe with because white's white, black's black. But red, you know, maybe you don't want red. Maybe your red is a little bit darker than what the word red gives you. So I'd stay away from those, but if you do see them, you understand why they're there. And I wouldn't use any of them ever except if white and black makes sense. So we can put color numbers in by hexadecimal, by RGB, or by actually using words, names of the colors. This is the one I would just mostly not do. I only on occasion use white and black. Color palettes for a website, meaning the exact colors you choose to stick with throughout your site, can vary depending on your brand and the emotional aspect, the emotions you're trying to evoke. You may have one main color, as I've said before, and maybe 2 variants of gray, and then of course black and white can go in there. And this is all to answer how many colors are too many. When you come up with your color palette, you just don't want to have 6 to 10 colors. It's too much. It's too busy It's too harmful to the eyes. It's too harmful to the senses. It's too busy, and people will not stick around. It's just not good. It hurts the eyes. You may have just one main color. You could stick with monochromatic palette. If your logo is one color and you kind of want to stay that way, some people really like the monochromatic palette. Monochromatic meaning one color, and you take different shades and tints of that same color. And a shade is just when you get darker versions of that color, and a tint is when you get lighter versions of that color. So you could do that, and there's a little more leeway as to how many of those colors you use, a little more, but not too much. You still don't want to go crazy and have 10 different shades that you're using. And I would still introduce a gray probably in with that as well, and certainly the black and white, or the almost black and the almost white. If you do come up with different colors in your palette, as opposed to monochromatic, you decide you want different colors, I would keep it to around 3 colors, definitely no more than 4 colors. Too many colors are confusing and chaotic, and if the colors are too vibrant, now I'm not against vibrant colors, but if you have lots of vibrant colors all over the place, it will strain the viewer's eyes and give them a headache, and you don't want that. Sometimes people will do that. They'll introduce all kinds of bright colors. They'll have extra colors to emphasize a word, to emphasize an object or something. I just had to deal with a client who was adding in every kind of color under the sun, because a lot of my clients start editing their own websites, which is great, and I help them and teach them. But I have to go back and say, don't add colors. Use the colors that are already set up for you. Work within that palette. Less is better. Okay, so colors, do colors really evoke emotion? There's articles and books all about this that say yes. There's psychology about it. There's science about how our eyes react to colors, how our brains react to colors. And I think a lot of it has to do with our culture. Colors in America may have different meanings than colors in maybe the Far East. So if you don't want to think about it as emotion, think about how we associate colors. The feel of colors depends on the hue of the color. So a bright red versus a dull red, those are going to give you 2 different effects. So you kind of want to think about that as you're picking out your colors. Now, having said that, some examples of colors and our association. I won't say their meaning. Some people say they have meaning, and I don't like to use that word, but I will say we associate colors. Like red, we look at red, it's attention grabbing. That's why we have it on stop signs. We think of blood, war, danger. Red is strength, and it can also be love, right, for Valentine's Day. Again, depending on the shades and tints. Green can elicit envy. It can denote greed, nature, peace, and it's also go, right? It's our go light. It's our go color. I didn't actually even mean to go through the stoplight colors, but I did. I noticed that after I did it. Yellow. Yellow can be fresh and mean joy, but I shouldn't say wrong, but if you choose to, come up with a feeling of sickness or caution, different shade of yellow. Think about the yield sign or caution signs. They're not bright yellow. They're kind of more of a mustardy yellow. Also, just a little tidbit here. Yellow is the first color your eye sees, for whatever that is worth. It is the first color your eye sees. Purple. Purple has always been a color for nobility. It's regal. It can also be romantic. Black can be formal. It can be very elegant. It can show power, and it can also be part of death. Like we wear black, well, we used to wear black clothes to funerals. In China, I believe in China they wear white because white to them is death. So again, that cultural thing. So tools for determining exact color values for your palette. There are some premium, and when I say premium, I mean you got to pay for them, but not too much, although Photoshop. Well, the Adobe products I want to tell you right now, you can't just flat out buy them anymore. You have to pay for them on a monthly basis. So you basically only rent them. So I am actually still working with my older versions of Photoshop and Illustrator and Dreamweaver and everything else I have, because I don't really need to be paying that monthly payment. But you can quit at any time. So if you need Photoshop for a short period of time, you can get it set up, paid for a month, and then quit. It's up to you. But so the premium and free tools that are out there that help you pick your exact color values, of course, Photoshop and Illustrator, can help you create swatches or palettes of color. A swatch would be like the little square like I was showing you. And then the palette would be several squares put together. And with these programs, you can get the exact RGB numbers and the exact hexadecimal numbers. And I personally use Photoshop. I use it a lot, especially for graphics for the web. It's really good for graphics for the web because it will help you optimize your photographs and your other graphics to make them as small a file size as possible while still keeping quality in the image. So it's really good for that. There are old-fashioned things like books that are still out there that talk about color palettes and values and color harmony and all that kind of stuff. I actually do use a book called The Complete Color Harmony by Tina Sutton and Bride M. Whalen. And inside of it, they just have a lot of different swatches and palettes they have put together. And, you know, just kind of get your brain going. You're not stealing if you're looking at color palettes. Colors are colors. Nobody owns them. I would stay away from looking at somebody's brand and stealing their brand colors, though. Don't do that. Because depending on how well that brand is known, you're going to get found out. There's one gal that I follow. Her name is Kimmer Luna. And she's a branding strategist, and she's a punk rocker. So, of course, her colors on her website are vibrant, crazy, almost you'd call them like acid colors. And they fit her. And it actually does look really good, but people started kind of using her colors, and it's really obvious that people took their idea from her website. In fact, she made comments about that and noticed it right away. So don't do that. But you can always look around and get colors. Nobody owns a color. Adobe offers some free color selector things. They have a free color selector tool on their website. So if you can pick one color that you like, and you don't even have to know the number of it. They show a color wheel, and you can just click in the color that you like to start with. And then it offers you different palettes based on your selection. And this is the URL to go to that tool. So I'll leave this here. You can either do a screenshot or write it down, color.adobe.com/create/color-wheel. So that's the URL, their website, that you can go to use this tool. It's a really awesome tool, and it might look a little intimidating. I've got a screenshot of it in the next slide, but I want to make sure people get down this web address. So color.adobe.com/create/color-wheel. Here's the screen capture. And it might look a little intimidating at first, but I just want to show you. I started with this color. And when I clicked in the color and got that color, notice you got these little handles here, and this is just a screen capture, so I can't move them around. But I clicked on this color over here, and then it starts, these little handles, these other handles start moving around and come up with the rest of my colors. Now I could click through, remember I was talking about those color schemes? or they call it rules. There's analogous, there's monochromatic, there's triad, there's complementary, there's compound, shades, whatever. You can click, since you select your first color, click on these different setups, and the colors they give you will actually go together based on the science of these rules. So in this case, I selected triad, and you'll notice it basically handles went in 3 directions. I have 5 colors, which I may or may not choose to use them all. I could decide that one of them I want to be a little bit different. If you click on one of the colors, you get this editing area where you can use sliders to kind of change the color a little bit. And as you do that, look down here, RGB, you get the actual RGB numbers and hex. You get, I know it's hard for you to see probably, but there's a hexadecimal number in there, which is 09827D as in dog. So again, you don't have to figure these things out. And the same thing for these other ones that, you know, it's hard for you to see. I've got it circled here. Every color, it gives you the RGB values and the hexadecimal value. So you can write those down and keep those in your file when you're creating your website. Sorry, another drink. I should warn you before I drink rather than after. I love this tool, and I think it's super cool that it's free. It comes under Adobe's Creative Cloud, which is where all their software is now, but this tool is free. You can just go to that URL, coloradobe.com, create color wheel. For tools to determine exact colors in images, this is an Adobe product that I think is dabomb.com. This thing is so friggin' cool. I don't know that it exists. I would guess it exists for the Android or for Windows, but I have an iPhone. So in the iOS, it's called Adobe Capture. It's an app. Adobe Capture kind of does a similar thing that I just showed you, except it starts pulling colors from a photo. So you can shoot you could look at something and say, I love the colors in the scene I'm looking at. Take a picture of it using Adobe Capture, and it will start trying to pull colors from that image. So look at these little dots here, right, with these different colors. It's sampled colors in the image. And based on those color schemes I was talking about, now these little dots will keep moving around until I touch the screen and say, stop, that's what I want. And then here's the colors that it picked. This is the palette it picked from this photo, and it gives me the values of each of those colors. So how cool is that? I love this tool. You can use a picture that already exists on your camera. You can open it within this tool and have it select colors from that. You can shoot a new picture using the tool. It gives you exact color values. And it is free, though you do have to create an account, but the account is free. And it's Adobe. I mean, Adobe's been around a long time. They really do have great tools. So just create an account and get this app. This thing is so fun to play with. Sometimes I just sit there and take pictures of my feet and see what colors I get. So these are 2 other screen captures inside that app. So if it picks the colors, this was one palette that it came up with for me from an image, and you select a color, it gives you the RGB value and the hexadecimal value, but you can also say, well, I like that color, but maybe I want it to be just a little bit cooler, so maybe I'll get a little more away from the yellowy, greeny color and slide this up just a little bit. And as you slide these up and down, these values change, and you get your new color. So you don't have to go by just what it says here. If it's like this color might feel just a smidge too dark for me, I just want to lighten it up just a tad, you can do that within the tool. And then you save, you click check, you save your color palette, you can name them, And these are all the palettes that I've saved, kind of just randomly. This was probably a foot picture right here. I probably have red toenail polish on, and these are my flesh tones, and maybe my jammies got in the way or something. I don't know. Sorry. But anyway, yeah, I mean, it's super cool. And this is a little more monochromatic. This is definitely monochromatic. You know, and you have those options to say whether you want a different kind of color scheme analogous or whatever. So I just love this tool. Huge fan. And it's free. There's another one. There's several other ways of picking colors. There's a website called Paletton.com where you can go and select colors. I don't know that you can sample in that from an image, but you can definitely pick out colors and get the color values that you need. W3 School, by the way, that's free. And W3schools.com, W3, that stands for www. Right, W3. W3schools.com has an HTML color picker, so you can select colors in there and get the actual color values. Again, it doesn't have a sampler, but it does give you a full screen of color options and tools to work with, and that's free. Here's another one that's free. Coolers.co, not .com, but .co. You can, this was an image I had, my friend Laura took this shot. Isn't that amazing? She goes out and shoots eagles, not literally, photographically, at the Mississippi River every year. And she gets the most amazing pictures. But I just grabbed one of her pictures and put it inside the coolers.co tool. And it, believe it or not, pulled these colors. I think you can see more of those colors if this image were enlarged. They do actually exist within here. And it just goes to show you that, you know, there's a lot more color going on than we recognize. Even just in this water, look at how many different colors there are just in the water. Color's just a fascinating thing, I think, and it's important. So using these tools can help you get the creative juices flowing, and also help you arrive at the colors that represent who you are as a person and who you are as a brand. So you want to be true to yourself. You want this all to be cohesive so that you're not faking your way anywhere. Your colors, your logo, your website, everything matches the person that you are, and the person that you are is where your voice comes from when you're doing your work. So you want all of that to be together, and when you do pull it together, it will be powerful stuff. So takeaways. I hope you have a little better understanding of how color works and a better color vocabulary, hopefully. Again, even if you're not doing your own website, when you're having a conversation with a graphic designer, you are now armed with a better understanding and better vocabulary. You have many things to consider now as you pick your logo and your branding colors. Most of all, remember, you have to love what you pick. Love them. Be proud of them. And hopefully you have a better understanding of how to use color values in your WordPress style sheets with this hexadecimal numbers. And again, like I said, you don't have to try and create colors like, gee, I hope I know that FC52DF is blue. I have no idea what that is. You don't have to do that. These tools will come up with those numbers for you. There are various types of color palettes. We talked about the print primaries and the light primaries and the pigment primaries, and you know there's just different kinds of color palettes. Just remember that on the web we are dealing with light. Now the still, it's light has to do with how we come to arrive at the colors that we want, but color theory is the same no matter what. Certain colors go with colors, certain colors don't go with colors. That just holds true through no matter what type of palette or scheme you're working with. And that there are awesome tools out there. And I only showed you just a few of them. If you do some searches. Now some of them I'd stay away from. They look a little dicey. But the tools I gave you will definitely give you a good launch to coming up with your color numbers and matching colors. And because of those tools, you do not have to be Renoir to come up with your colors and be a smarty pants. You can be a smarty pants by using one of those tools. So don't use too many colors on your website. Pick no more than 4. And then you can also use black, white, and gray if you want. You don't have to, but it's okay. Make it a pleasant viewing experience, not a grade school finger painting project. This is my little symbol because I couldn't put in a character. Me sort of sticking my tongue out there. Get it? That's like the hair, eyes, nose, and my tongue. Yeah, so it doesn't look like finger painting. Although that would be a cool style, the brush stroke style. But you get the gist. You get the idea. Don't mix styles of colors such as bright, hot colors with dull, earthy colors. So if you're working with bright, hot, keep to that style. You may want one, if you're going really bright, hot, you'll probably want one that's not so, it may still be a rich color, but maybe something that could be called more neutral, like a dark blue or something. Dull, in this case, does not mean boring. It means dull, duller than bright and hot. Earthy colors might be more considered dull. Earth, think of leaves and grass and dirt and plants. The color of leaves, they're not always these vibrant green colors. They can be all kinds of shades of green. And if you look super close at them, you'll probably find some yellow and some brown in there. So that's kind of the earthy stuff. Whichever you pick, do it all the way through. Be consistent. Don't change it. This is your brand. Use the colors everywhere. Once you come up with these colors, remember I said RGB and CMYK are different, but you can match those colors, you know, from RGB to CMYK. They can be converted. Whatever colors you arrive at, you want to make sure you get those values across the board. You get the CMYKs for print, you get the RGBs, and you get the hexadecimal numbers for each color, so that across the board, whether you're in social media, for your videos, your website, your print materials, everything is consistent and well branded. And that is important for people remembering you. Okay? So, let me go back and switch around. Back to me. All right. I hope that was super helpful. I'm going to take a look over in the comments and see if anything's been going on. It doesn't look like anybody asked any questions. I hope, please ask a question now if you want to. Go ahead in the chat box and type away. Also, this video is going to be available on YouTube immediately. Well, it'll take a few minutes, I think, for it to kind of gather itself and get on there. But if you go to my YouTube channel, which is just search Kathy Servatka on YouTube, you will find my channel and you will see this video and you can take a look at it. And feel free to ask questions even in YouTube, because I do go back and check and I will answer. Or you can email me at Kathy. Do I have my email here? No. Well, sort of I do. Oop, I keep hitting my microphone. All right, I'm going to hold this up. The only part you care about is the web address. Kathy with the C, C-A-T-H-Y, at voiceoverwebdesign.com. It's going to move it over there. Kathy with the C, at voiceoverwebdesign.com. Voiceoverwebdesign, all one word, completely spelled out. Email me directly with questions and I'll be happy to answer them. I love sharing my information with you guys. If you succeed, then I am succeeding. And I truly mean that, because otherwise, what am I doing here? I'm giving this stuff away for free. Oh, I was going to talk about speaking of free, something that's not free but is very well priced is my voiceover package to get started on the web, which I called the audition. Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for showing up. I appreciate it. I have a package, and I'll just tell you the price right out. It's $560. And what you get for $560 is 1 to 2 pages. This is just to get you going. If you don't have the money for a full-on website with a custom design, you give me your logo, you give me your content, your information, and we would talk about the content and what that would be. But you provide me all the information, your contact information, your demos, your logo, a photo of you if you choose to do that. Not everybody likes to do that. Or, you know, if you have a caricature. Get me all that stuff, and then I pull together, I get you a premium theme, and I put in your colors, and I put your content in, and your image and everything. I make sure it's all set up so that it works on all the platforms, phone, TV, and everything in between. And I get your hosting going and your domain purchased if you don't already have one, and done. And you're up, you're professional looking. It doesn't have bells and whistles, but it is going to have a nice demo player that works well. It's going to have all your content, your contact information. All that stuff's going to be on there. You're going to be on the web. It's going to be search engine optimized, and it is a great way to get started. And the premium theme that I use, and I use a couple different ones, but the one that I will use for you, whatever that one is, will be, like I said, extensible, meaning that you can grow into it. So, you know, you start out maybe with the basic. You can start out with 1 page. A lot of voiceovers only need 1 page unless you've got years of experience, maybe 2 pages. But if you start really racking it up and you got videos you want to show and you start wanting to add more pages about, you know, your experiences, or maybe you want to start blogging, anything like that, you can go into all that. It's all set up for you to be able to do that. So you pay me the one-time fee of $560. I pull that together for you, get you all set up. And I use Bluehost, so go to Bluehost, set you up. And the only recurring cost you'll have is the cost of the hosting, which at Bluehost I think is just over $100 a year, per year. And the more years you purchase at a time, the cheaper it gets. And the domain name is about $10 a year. And I think with Bluehost, you get the domain free the first time around. I think you have to pay to keep it going. I'm not sure about that. But even if you pay, it's only $10 a year. So your ongoing cost is the hosting and the domain, which could be around $110 a year. So, and that gives you, you know, you have access to your content. You can get into WordPress. It's not that hard to get in and just edit some basic content. It works a lot like Microsoft Word. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know. Let me know, because this is something I came up with after going to the That's VoiceOver conference. Thank you so much. Thanks for staying. I appreciate it. And I know I went way longer. I said a half hour because I started adding more slides. So I'm sorry I went long, and I understand if people have to leave. You can still catch the video, like I said, to watch the rest of it, but I'm really pretty much done. If you are interested, if you want me to do your website, sometimes people just don't want to deal with it. You don't want to deal with it, I can do this for you. If you want to do your own, you're doing your own WordPress. WordPress is what I work with. I know a lot of people use Weebly, Wix, and Squarespace. Those are the top ones, 1-in-1 even. Sorry. Those are okay. If you're really strapped for cash, monthly, yes, I do. Somebody said that I mentioned I could do monthly checkups. I do actually have a plan for that. I'm working on my pricing page right now. So if you go to my website, which is oh, I keep hitting my microphone, sorry. My website, www.voiceover web design, I hope you can see that, webdesign.com. And you go to, I have a samples page called, it's a gallery page. You can see some of the work that I've done. It's not all voiceover work because I've been doing it for so long. I've got a lot of other work up there, but there are voiceovers. Toward the top, you can see. Anyway, I went to a conference in LA, and as I was talking to voiceovers, I really recognized that a lot of them, they had spent so much money on their coaching, their demo, their equipment, their studios. I know that stuff's expensive. I mean, even my setup isn't great and it's expensive. So I get that. And so then you're like, oh, my website, what do you want me to spend another $1,000, $2,000? I can't do that. So I offer this cheaper package. You still get everything on there. You're going to look professional. You're going to get found. That's important stuff. But if you need to do a Wix or a Weebly because you just need to go the cheapest route, then so be it. That's how it is. And I will say a lot of the information that I talk about is still pertinent to that. The problem with those programs is ultimately you're going to be paying more than if you had me do it. Yeah, mine is an outlay up front, but and you pay continuously for the hosting and the domain, but you do that anywhere. But places like Weebly and Wix charge a little bit more per month, so over time you're going to be spending more money. And they also hit a wall where you can't always access everything, or you just like you get it done, but you can't quite get it to do what you want it to do. So that's the frustrating part that comes in with those tools. And there's no way to easily export, I don't think, because I've checked this and I didn't see it, to export your website from a Wix or a Weebly to import it into WordPress. So it's kind of, it's stuck there, there it is, there it stays. So that's why I'm a fan of WordPress. I really like it very much. Oh, you met me at the conference and you're signed in as anonymous, so I don't know who you are, but I'm glad you're here. Yay. I had such a great time at that conference, and by the by, guys, I just recently got invited to the VoiceOver Atlanta conference in Atlanta in 2 weeks. So I am going to be there as well, and maybe some of you guys will be there too. I'd be happy to talk with you. I'm happy to talk about your website, questions you have. You know, I'm not somebody who's like, I don't want to share my information with you because I want you to pay for it. I'm not about that. Obviously, I need to make a living. But I do like to share with you. So that's it. If anyone has any questions, type them now. Otherwise, I am going to sign off. And like I said, this will be available on my YouTube channel. And I think that's it. I'll be back again in 2 weeks. And I forget what the topic is. I have it written down. I'll let you know. It'll be something technical, right? Because we go back and forth. And hopefully it's all in just the right bite-sized pieces that you need. I don't want to overwhelm. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me. Have a great day. Feel free to email me, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.